Hello and welcome to the Sheffield Hallam University Dying Matters Week series. My name is Jess Jenkins and I'm the Chaplaincy Engagement Officer here at Sheffield Hallam University. Today I'm joined by Toni Schwartz. And Toni, can you start off by telling us a little bit about your role here at Sheffield Hallam University?
Thank you, Jess. Yes, I'm Toni Schwartz. I'm the Executive Dean for the College of Health, Wellbeing and Life Sciences. So essentially, I'm one of the deans that runs that college. There are three of us. And I also have a cross-university role, which is on student engagement. So that's a newish role that I've taken up since last September.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining us today. So, as part of Dying Matters Week, we are getting people and encouraging people to talk about death and dying. So, today, could you tell us a little bit about your personal experience with bereavement?
Yes, so the experience that I feel comfortable sharing with you is around losing my dad, which is 6 years ago, this October that we lost him. Um, he was somebody who was a massive supporter of me throughout all of my life and had a brilliant relationship with him. I'm one of three girls, the middle of three girls. I'm called after him. He was Anthony. So I got called Tony because there was clearly not going to be any boys in the family. And I was a great tomboy and always knocking around with him. So we had a very sort of close and special relationship. He had a successful career, and when he retired, he was still very busy and active. But when he got to about 73, 74, I started to notice some differences in him, not just being forgetful, but differences in remembering lots of sort of flower names, because he was always very good on Latin flower names and roads that we'd gone down that he just couldn't remember how to get from A to B. And spoke to my mum and my sisters at the time and said that you don't think dad's, changing a bit, and you don't think we're worried that he's got dementia. And they were adamant, no, no, it was just he was old and he was getting forgetful. And my previous background as a nurse, I've obviously experienced working with people with dementia, and it was still niggling away at me. So eventually managed to get them to agree that we'd go to the GP and chat to him about it. We then got referred to a geriatrician, and there's a series of tests that happen. And I remember going along with mum to that appointment, and the geriatrician saying to him that he did have signs of dementia, and it was vascular dementia that he had, which is one type of dementia. It's progressive. There is no treatment for it, and the time that people have left is indeterminate. But essentially, there is a general losing of all of their skills and abilities. So at that moment, I remember my dad saying, "Oh, thank you very much. That's brilliant. You've come up with something," and coming away and feeling quite sort of satisfied. And my mum completely devastated. And I went home that night, and I was completely devastated because I had an idea of what the journey was going to be like. There's an advert on the television about people with dementia, and it talks about losing people multiple times.
Mm.
And that, I think, was an experience that I really resonate with the message in that advert. I think when you have somebody with dementia, you do lose them multiple times.
Mhm.
And he had dementia before he passed away, and for 13 years. So it was an endless amount of time. And gradually you are losing them bit by bit from the outside. There's always that little bit, though, that told you he was still him and he was still there. He remained, even right up to the end, having a twinkle in his eye and sort of a little wink that would sort of acknowledge that he didn't know me, but he knew I wasn't a bad person.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, it was nice, but it was also incredibly hard. And watching somebody sort of dissolve in front of you is very difficult as a family, and we were a close family to deal with. Mum was determined to look after him at home, so you go through a whole range of support systems and emotions, trying to help with that because Mum is not that young either. So just managing to do all of those things for him. And eventually, he did have to go into have some residential care, which she took incredibly personally, as though she couldn't. She felt she'd really let him down, and would go and visit him twice a day. She'd go in at lunchtime and then in the afternoon to the evening, until he was settled down. And he was there for 16 months with, dedicated care staff, but also a dedicated family going and seeing him until he passed away one evening about 10 o'clock, and I was there with him. So, yeah.
Wow, it's
Mm.
a long journey.
Yeah.
So throughout that experience, did you access any support, or what helped you to get through that experience?
Yeah, I found that we were all at different points on acceptance of that. And one of the things that I needed to help my mum get to a point of being able to understand that he did have it. So even when he had these lucid moments, he wasn't getting better.
Hmm.
It was a progressive illness. So we went to a 6-week course that was run out of one of the trusts, in actual fact, on learning to live with dementia. And it was for families and carers. And I went with her on that. It was one evening a week for 6 weeks. And it was really hard watching her trying to come to some sort of acceptance. And there was a whole range of people there at different points. And this was quite early on in Dad's diagnosis. And in actual fact, she made a couple of friends because women tend to live longer than men. So there was a couple of friends there that she got
Yeah.
to know. So that became really quite a support mechanism for her. Um, we also joined a dementia cafe, and I used to live much nearer to them. And we went to that. I used to see that that was my job to take him along to there. And it was a tea afternoon. It was something he'd have absolutely hated had he been his normal self. But in actual fact, what he did love around it was some of the activities like singing, because he really loved singing. It was something, and whistling and music. And so there are activities there that he liked doing. Mum couldn't quite face coming to that with me, even though I felt it was really quite supportive. And it was supportive for me to see that a time that he was really happy. Um, and then for Mum, particularly, and Dad, they found the church was very supportive for them. For me, it was much more family, just talking and getting
Yeah,
through it together.
absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing with us today, Tony. The last question I'd like to ask you is, if you could give one piece of advice to somebody that's supporting someone who has lost a loved one, what advice would you give that person to support them effectively?
Yeah, it's really hard, isn't it? Because everybody is so different. Um, one one of the things that I would say is really just take it a day at a time. Stay in the present moment and try and ground yourself. Don't worry about what's going to happen in the future. Don't worry about the past and things that you wanted to have said or should have said. Just worry about what's going on now, and let those other things sort themselves out. Um, One of the biggest things that I worried about when Dad was very at the end stages was that I wouldn't remember him as he was. And the deep joy that I got almost as soon as he'd passed away was I remembered him as a younger man and the great dad that he was. And I really have to now think through what he was like towards the end.
Mm.
So, it's an incredibly sad part of life that we lose people that we love, but it's also a fact of life. And I would just say stay in the present.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Okay.
If you'd like to speak to anybody, if you are recently bereaved, would like to talk about attending your first funeral, would like a one-to-one, or would like somebody to pray for you, you can get in touch with us by emailing chaplaincy@chew.ac.uk. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and on Instagram. Thank you and goodbye.